What is up, everyone?
Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am your host, Nathan Marzian, joined by Brandon Eckel. We've got some Bucks off-season stuff to get to. Not only we have free agency starting tomorrow, but we have not. We had the live stream during the draft. Me and you did,
Hmm.
but we haven't really talked, at least on a podcast about it since. Um, Obviously, we had our live reactions to it. The Bucks drafting Marjin Beauchamp, 24th overall. You liked it more than I did. I don't hate it. I don't hate it, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. We'll get into that, and we will also get into some NBA free agency, specifically towards the Bucks. Bucks free agent targets. Um, what we think they're going to do, what we think they should do. Um, Bobby just opted out today, which was very expected. I mean, he wasn't going to accept. I think it was 4.6 mil. He'll
Yeah.
probably get he'll probably get 12-ish million a year. So I mean that was expected, but I do expect him to be back. We'll get to that stuff. Um, Very excited. We were just talking. Very excited for free agency to start tomorrow. I love the NBA.
Yeah.
I love the off season. I love like in my opinion. I mean that's the thing I love about the NBA. I love basketball more than any sport, but I also think it's like there's so much drama. There's so much stuff that goes on in the off season and the trades and the rumors and the free agency and the draft. Like I don't know. I love it. I love how much drama there is.
It reminds me of the trade deadline when, back when we were in school, we'd be checking our phone, checking Twitter and stuff for
I'll never
oh,
sorry to cut you off. I'll never forget being in school in high school. I think it was my freshman year of high school. And walking I didn't have a phone. I didn't have like a phone at the time that I could check trades all the time. So I'd have to like check my laptop.
yeah.
And in between classes I wouldn't know what was going on. I'm walking down the hall and Ryan Moss yells at me and goes, "Yo, the Bucks just got Michael Carter Williams." And I'm like, "Ha ha, very funny. No, they didn't." And like I'm like, I'm gonna be so mad if they actually did. Pull out my laptop. Michael Carter Williams is a Buck. I'm like, you got it. I was so mad. But anyways, I love draft or I love free agency and the
Yeah,
trade.
first one I remember, I think, real quick is probably JJ Redick. That had been like
Mm-hmm.
seventh grade ish. Because I
Yeah.
remember I was getting out of gym class and I maybe on my iPod or something. So I was on the Wi Fi there. I don't know how, but yeah, I was like, oh, we got JJ Redick, which
Yeah.
is which is
Hey,
fun.
we made a run at the 8 seed. Let's
Yeah,
go, baby.
those are the days you just wanna make the playoffs, but, yeah, I mean, it's always fun, it's like you get all the notifications. That's what I was saying, like, you got the, trade deadline during the year, and then free agency opens, you got names after names, like, I can't even keep track, you gotta, like, literally sit down and take time to realize all the guys that moved,
Mhm.
right after the draft too, so, looking forward to tomorrow.
Yep. All right. Bucks, 24th overall, Marjin Beauchamp. Um, we will give our thoughts on that. Obviously, I mean, again, I hate that I'm like the biggest, like no, not even known as the biggest hater, but just I've come off as like a hater of this pick because I don't hate the pick. Okay, I don't. I don't hate it. Do I love it? Do I even like it that much? Honestly, no. Not to say he can't become a really good player, in a couple years, few years, but I simply just think, in my opinion, everyone around Giannis needs to be able to shoot at least, pretty well. I don't think he's there yet. Can he get there? Absolutely. Shooting, you can develop a shot, but I don't know. To me, it'll be hard to get a ton of minutes right away without being able to shoot super well or at least effective minutes. Love what he brings defensively. Love his athleticism. Love his potential. The shooting part is what said, meh, I don't love it. But I'm not, I guess, a hater of the pick now. But your thoughts? I know you liked a lot more than I did. You said he was one of your
Yeah.
favorite prospects. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just when we were doing our big boards, I had him a lot higher than most other guys had him, I guess I'd say. I know you even had him, like early 20s, so
Yeah,
right around where he picked him.
and I said I like him as a prospect. I don't love him for the Bucks, but go ahead.
Yeah. I know I mentioned when we did the draft stream, but I watched him, me and some friends when the Ignite played the Herd, and I just really liked his game because it was that like versatile defender, super long, super athletic, gets to the rim. He's got a nice mid range and he's got a good looking jumper. It's a matter of if they can get that jumper to the point where he's knocking down threes. One thing I do want to say, like I totally agree, we need guys that can shoot around Giannis, especially, but I mean, also last year, it's like it just came down to we had shooters and they didn't make their shots. So I think as much as yeah, I'd love him to be able to shoot threes consistently, and hopefully that'll come over time. We got to expect Grayson to step up. We got to expect Bobby to step up when he resigns. Um, Chris is back, so that's another shooter. That takes more of a burden off of Drew, which I think people overlook. You know, they're like, "Oh, Drew is really inefficient shooting wise." Well, because he's taking like 25 shots a game in playoffs. Usually, he's probably taking 15 to 20. Maybe he's taking 20, but you know, he's taking 5, 6 more shots a game. Um, that Chris would have been Chris shots. So, um, I really like it in the fact of like we saw in the playoffs and the finals, especially having a defender that can guard 1 through 4, and I think he can pretty much do that. He's a little on the skinny side, but his length, wingspan stuff makes up for it.
I can see several things I like. Like, there's a reason. I mean, I graded it like a C because to me, I was like, meh, he can't shoot. Like, that's just my opinion. I didn't grade it an F. There's a reason I didn't grade it an F. There's a reason honestly, when I went back and looked at like my pre-draft notes, I said if we took him, I grade a B minus. So in the moment, because we passed on my guy Wendell Moore,
Mm-hmm.
I bumped it down a couple spots because I was just upset in the moment. But honestly, I gave it like between a B minus and a C, probably a C plus. So there's a reason that like there's things I liked about it. I like that it gives us something we don't really have, which is an athletic long wing defender. That's a need. I'll check. He's young and we need youth, and he has potential, which that was something like I'm like, at least it's not a boring pick. It's if you're gonna not draft the guy that I want, I at least hope it's someone who can be, has potential. It's not just some boring like this
Walk
guy's not good.
faster.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that. And I mean, I shouldn't say he's not that young. He's obviously young for an NBA player because he's a rookie, but like he's actually 22, which
I
did
can
kind
say
of
like 22, I think.
it did kind of concern me because again, a lot of these guys, someone was comparing, they're like, oh, um, I think his ceiling could be like Mikal Bridges. And I said, I don't think that that's realistic because he just won't become that good of a shooter. And someone said, well, Mikal Bridges, his freshman year of college, was only a 29% 3-point shooter. And I said, and I'm like, well, that he was 18, 19 years old at that time, 19, 18, whatever. I don't know, 18, 19. By the time he was 22, which is, how Beauchamp is, he was a 41% 3-point shooter. Like, it usually by this time, you kind of know what the player at least is. Now, they can develop, they can become a better shooter and stuff, but it's like, I'm not going to sit here and act like he has the potential to become a really good 3-point shooter. I think he can become an average 3-point shooter, which is all you need. But I mean, that's just what I was saying there. It does a little bit limit his potential to me that he's already 22. If he was 19, you're like, you don't even know what this guy is yet. I think the fact that he's 22 makes it a little bit more, like, a little bit more underwhelming for me, just looking at the pick overall. But things I like: long athletic wing defender. He has potential. It wasn't a boring pick. I love him as a person. He seems like a really good dude. He seems like he's going to be easy to root for, super likable, mesh with that team extremely well. I think he's someone who will work hard. Giannis will love him. Those guys that already know what it takes to win a championship, they will see that he has that and love that. So plenty of things to like about it. Again, I just wanted someone with a shot. I thought Wendell Moore could have given you 90% of what Beauchamp can give you defensively and a lot more than he can give you offensively. But again, I'm not a scout, so I'll defer to the Milwaukee Bucks with this one. All right. We're moving on to free agency. A lot of names, as we said, that it's hard to even keep track of how many guys. I have like freaking 20, 25 guys on my page right now that I'm gonna end up mentioning at least. I mean, we're not gonna talk super in depth about them, but we'll just go through some names. And the Bucks, obviously, so not much they can do unless they make a trade. They only basically have the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is about 6.4 million, and then they can give away a couple vet mins. They've brought back Pat Connaughton. If they bring back Wes and Bobby and Javon Carter, which I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing they'll bring back Wes and Bobby. We're gonna talk first about their pending free agents. Who do you want back who do you think is like a must-have back? Because that does depend a little bit then on who you're going after. You know, if you don't bring back Bobby, if you don't bring back Wes, it changes who you're going after. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I would say the only must-have back is Bobby, even though I think he's a little less off the must-have back, more than people talk. I love Bobby. I love the energy. He's been amazing, regular season wise, and like I said, the energy. It's hard to find guys that match that, loved by the fans. However, back-to-back years, he's struggled in the playoffs. He's shot 30% or worse from three, I believe, the past two playoffs. I don't know if you can double check that or if I will or if you know for sure.
Real quick, I know like he obviously had his moments in that 2021 playoff run. Like it was kind of a based on the matchups thing. Like he couldn't play in the Brooklyn series.
Yeah.
He was fantastic in the Hawks series. He was, good, pretty good in the final. Like, but there were moments, and when you look at it overall, it was kind of meh. Because again, there were moments he was really good. There were moments he was really bad. Times he couldn't even be on the court. So yeah, like I don't know. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I can look it up as you're talking, but like I think I agree with what you're saying. I don't think people realize that has been kind of a struggle.
Yeah, real quick. 2020, 2021, obviously last season he averaged 11-7. He went down to 9-5 in the playoffs. He was also shooting 47% from three. Now I know that's really high.
Yeah.
You'd think he'd be around there, dropped to about 35%, which is still good, but considering he shot 47% on the year, that's a big dip.
And then this
This
past, yeah, go ahead.
and now just gonna say this past year, averaged 14 and a half and 9, and in the playoffs, and then what do you shoot from three? 39% from three. And then in the playoffs, he dropped to 30% from three and put up 10 and 10. So a little bit more efficient rebounding, which he was good at. Struggled kind of down low in a few of those games against Boston, especially. And just could not find his rhythm from three. So, I mean, I love him. And yes, you have to bring him back, and I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong. But if you're going to be another championship contending team, you need him to get back up to that 37, 38% from three. Probably. I know that sounds high, but when you expect him to make those shots, he's got to be able to knock those down. I mean, end of story. Say that again? Hold on. Your audio's like cutting out, kind of.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I can
Okay.
hear you.
I said you got to get him back in the gym with lethal shooter.
Yeah, you do. I think he falls off a little before the the playoffs. I think he's got to get a little 1-2 day pass with lethal shooter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
1 2 day pass. So
just got to get that
just
little
in
break.
1 day, just a 1 4 hour session, and his shot is 10% better.
Get the
Anyway,
shot back.
yeah. So to me, I mean, yeah, I do agree with it's. To me, you're obviously. I think you have to bring him back. I mean, it's not completely their call, but like it's more up to him. But I think he wants to be back by all accounts. It sounds like that. They can offer him. Someone asked in the chat what's the most they can offer him. 4 years, 49. They can offer him, which I think is enough to do the job. I think he wants to stay here, and that's plenty of money. So, yeah, to me like I'm definitely bringing him back. But I know what you mean in the sense that like if they didn't, and I guess there are some guys out there that you could potentially get that can give you close to that production. But to me, the thing is, you do know what, at least in the regular season, for the most part. Again, the playoffs gets a little iffy, but you know what Bobby Portis is. You know he's going to give you. He's that dog. He's going to give you all that intensity. He's going to give you, for the most part, good 3-point shooting. And he's going to be a guy that everyone on that team loves. The fans love. Like that is a little bit irreplaceable to me. And I'm not even a huge believer in that stuff, but like with Bobby Portis, what happened with him, it's definitely like noticeable that he's a great locker room guy, a fan favorite and everything, and someone who just like can step on the court and change a game, like especially at home, like the fans just get into it. So you're bringing him back. We're doing everything we can to bring him back. I expect him to be back again. I think there was like an article today from Bleacher Report that said teams are expecting Bobby Portis to be back 4 years, 40 something million. So I think it's happening. Wesley Matthews, I want him back. I mean, you don't know with these old guys, like we didn't think he'd be as good as he was last year. We thought he was already kind of washed, and he showed, hey, he can hit threes, he can play good defense still. But
Yeah.
you don't know when it's going to happen. The drop off is coming,
Hmm.
and it could happen at any moment. You could sign him, and all of a sudden he sucks. I mean, I want to think, because again, he was really good last year. You want to think that he can be good again this next season, and I want him back. But I mean, not the worst thing in the world if he's gone. Like, I'm not sitting here gonna. I mean, I'll be upset about it, but I'm not gonna. I think there's ways to replace him. There's some 3-and-D guys available, but I would try to bring him back. I think ideally, Wes and Bobby are both back.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree, and I think the one thing too is like you almost wouldn't like if you don't get a guy to replace him, you have Beauchamp coming in to play the 2/3, wing behind Middleton, and then you got Pat and Grayson playing the 2. So it's like now you have West, now you have the rookie. Okay, you're probably not signing another guy. So I mean, maybe there's a couple names you mentioned. It's like if you could get, we'll see who you mentioned, but if you can get, a certain couple guys, I'm sure there's probably a few guys that take over him just because he's. At times, he could just kind of be a zero. It's like he would either come out there, hit 2, 3 threes for you and be huge, or he misses his threes. You know he's not going to get to the rim. You know he's not going to really provide any playmaking. So it's like, I know he was bringing really good defense, but we got that with the draft pick. So a guy that would be nice to have back, but definitely not a necessity, in my
So,
opinion.
if you had to rate, well, let's first get to Javon Carter. If they do, yeah, free Javon Carter. By the way, we've been saying this since everyone's been saying this since the Celtics series. Not sure why Bud hates him, but basically, if they bring back Javon Carter, which would be on like a minimum deal likely, then I think they'd only have room for the taxpayer mid-level exception and one Vetman guy. If they don't bring back Javon, they could get 2 guys. I want Javon Carter back. I mean, they played him more. I just think he is a great fit for what we need. I think
Yeah,
he's
he is.
like again, I don't think there's many guys out there on the market that like I'd much rather have them as our backup point guard or one of our. I mean, I don't the whole George Hill thing. I want George Hill to just be traded, but
Yeah.
everyone kind of does. But it's like I don't think there's many guys I'm like they're a better backup point guard than Javon Carter for sure. And I love his defense. I love how he hounds guys full court. Press
Mm-hmm.
Virginia, by the way.
Yeah.
And he was really good hitting threes last year.
Yeah.
And so I just think he was perfect in his role, and I wish they played him more. I want him back from in. I'd love it. Like I said, I'd rather have him than a lot of guys on the market.
I'm totally with you. I would be totally fine if he ran the backup point guard, played 15, 20 minutes a game. And I want Hill gone. I think the way you kind of talked about Wes not knowing when the decline comes, I think we started to see that last year with George Hill. He just wasn't good. I know he's kind of hurt, and then he came back. He wasn't playable. Carter played his role great. And then, Boonholzer gave George Hill his chance in the playoffs. He didn't play, and he stuck with him. And maybe that's a decision that could have cost him the series. But either way, it sucks that Carter didn't get his chance because, like you said, he played his role well. So I hope he's back. I hope he's the backup point guard.
So he was like a plus 25 in game 1 of the series. But anyways, let's go through those 3 guys, Bobby, West, Javon, just real quick. Like a 1 to 10, your how much you want them back or how much you think they need to be back. 10 being absolutely if they don't have them back, they're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
0 or 1 being I don't want them back at all. But we'll
Bobby,
go Bobby first.
Bobby, I probably give a 8, maybe 9. Like I said, mainly energy. You said it. You know what you're getting in the regular season, but big thing is we need him in the playoffs to.
Yeah, I'll go 9 for Bobby. And then Wesley Matthews, I'll go 7 for Wes Matthews.
I was gonna go about a 5, just because, like I said, I think you have rookie can kind of fill in. Maybe you get a different guy.
Then Javon Carter, I'll go 7 as well. I think.
I was gonna say 7. I was gonna say I think he's more important than West, just in the fact of having a good backup point guard behind Drew.
All right, so those 3 guys we definitely want back. And then Grayson, let's talk just real quick. Potentially trade. The only thing we kind of have to trade, unless we go crazy and trade Brooke or something like that, which they're not going to do. The really only thing we have to trade is like Grayson Allen and George Hill. They don't have, really picks to trade. So it's like, what can you really get? I'm not sure. I want to trade for PJ Washington somehow. That's kind of my guy. I think he'd be a great small ball four, can play both ends, hit some
Yeah.
threes. He's young. Let's just not even talking specifically about players you want to trade for, but like your thoughts on Grayson. I saw some slander on that man today. Some ludicrous slander. That was like, it was like they had like tiers of tiers of Bucks players, and they had a tier of like, get this guy off my team, and it was Jordan Wara and it was Grayson Allen, and I'm like, he does not belong in that tier. I'm sorry, but
No.
I get people are going to remember that he sucked in the final series. They're going to remember that, and he did. But he was equally as good as he was bad in that first series, because he was like, he basically not won us that series, but like if he doesn't play, if he plays like he did in the Boston series in the first series, we might not have won that series, honestly, because we lost Chris, and Grayson stepped up huge and we got us to the second round. He was fantastic the whole regular season, 41% from three.
Yeah.
One bad playoff series, it was bad. I get that. He was terrible on defense as well, and I'm not like sitting here saying Grayson's this amazing player and should be our starting shooting guard. I think you need a starter, but Grayson's still a good player. Grayson still gives you what you need, which is an excellent 3-point shooter around Giannis. And I think he can be an okay defender for the most part. He wasn't like he was a defensive liability all season.
No.
He just started sucking at the end. So I'm not at all like we need to get rid of Grayson Allen. Like, I don't want him on my team to start the season. However, I would be exploring trades, because obviously I think you can upgrade there. I think he's a tradable contract. If you could pair him with Hill, get those two guys out and get someone else in, like a PJ Washington, who to me is an upgrade.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. Not that they'd take that. I mean, you need to add more to that deal, but I'm just saying. Anyways, what are your thoughts on Grayson Allen?
I think I'm in the same boat as you. It's like, and I'm not trying to slander Bobby here, but I just want to bring it back to him real quick. It's like he's played pretty mediocre and had a drop off back to back playoff series, and nobody talks about that. Grayson plays bad in one series essentially with us, and everybody's like, "Oh, he sucks. Get him off the team." Now I know he was pretty much a zero in that Boston series for the most part, especially defensively. I honestly just think it got to his head, and he couldn't hit shots. He stopped being aggressive trying to get to the rim. Maybe they told him they didn't want him to do that. I don't know. He was also pressing because nobody could hit shots, so somebody had to step up. He was one of the guys that couldn't. And he would just, I mean, they had a bigger team. Boston would just built a little better with no Chris, no Chris. They were just built a little better matched up against us. So I want to keep him, but I'm like you. It's like if the Hornets were like, oh, a future first and uh, we'll take War off your hands. We'll take Grayson Allen for PJ Washington. I'd be like, okay, I'll do it in a heartbeat. I also like PJ Washington.
Throw War out there. He's
Yeah,
young. He's got potential. He's got potential.
hey, he put up 8 points, so maybe they look at that.
Look at his summer league highlights. He's a freaking stud.
He loves going to the bar too. PJ Washington, underrated guy, solid shooter. I'm just pulling up real quick. Takes 4.5 threes a game. He's a 37% shooter. A big 6'8", 230. I like him a lot. I liked him at Kentucky.
And the youth. I like that he's young.
Yes, 23 years old. 23. He'll be 24 this summer. He would be a great guy to get, but like you said, I think that'd be tough to get the Hornets to do. But maybe they sign Miles Bridges and they got to ship out PJ. So
Oh, you got me thinking about something. I just a random thought exercise when you said something about how with Bobby and the way Grayson Allen's perceived now because of his play. Like,
yeah,
if we lose Game 7 in Brooklyn, now obviously so many things are different. Like, Bud might be fired. The Drew Holiday trade, everyone would be criticizing. Chris Middleton can't be the number 2 option on the championship team. Yada yada. Giannis can't be the number 1 option. Yada yada yada. All this stuff's different. But I never really thought about how differently, and Bobby probably won't even be on the team, but how differently we would have viewed Bobby. Because At the time, again, he was unplayable in that series.
Yeah.
They would have gone on to lose, and you would be like, well, like nobody, the whole Bobby thing with the fans didn't really start until the Eastern Conference Finals. So
No.
there would not have been this like everyone loves Bobby, we need to bring him back, and it would have just been like, all right, see ya, and like we'd all be like, nobody would be like, oh, I love Bobby Portis. Like it's just funny to think about that stuff. I know he was a little bit of a fan favorite at that time. Like people liked him, but it wasn't even close to what it became
No.
after that finals run, where like he took less money and wanted to stay here, and it was like Bobby Portis is the freaking mayor of Milwaukee. Like it's just crazy to think about if because like you said, it's all like it's so recency bias and like
Yes.
people just remember the end of the season and Grayson sucked. Okay, well, he sucks. I don't want him on my team anymore. He's terrible. He can't play in the playoffs. Yada blah blah. I'm like, literally a week ago, the dude was averaging 30 against the Bull. Like
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna agree with a lot of what you said there, and yeah, I not trying not or not trying to trade Grayson, but I do think I don't know. I think he can be fine. I'm okay trading him, but I'm fine having him on the team as well. Now let's move into free agency target. Guys on other teams that are free agents that the Bucks could go after. We're kind of just gonna, at least I am just gonna run through this list
Yeah, I'll go
or
quick.
run through some names. You can mention some names as well, but like I said, Bucks have a taxpayer mid-level exception for about 6 million. Depending on who they bring back, they can sign a couple of vet mins. Might only be just one if they bring back, Wes, Bobby, and Javon. And yeah, so guys I like, these are mostly guys for the mid-level taxpayer mid-level exception. I'm just going to refer to it as the mid-level exception from now on. But
Mhm.
um, a lot of guys that they could potentially get, and some of these could be. I was kind of talking to you before we started. It's hard to know exactly what these guys are going to get. Like some of them, it's like maybe they'll take a minimum. Like I don't know. I mean, like I don't know what the market is exactly for them, but and in the minimum is like how much even is the minimum? Is it like a couple million,
I have to
three
say, I
million?
want to say it's like right around 2.5 to 3.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's either that compared to again the 6.4 you'd be getting with the mid-level exception. Like, it's not a huge difference. Isn't like we're talking guys that are either going to be getting 3 million or 12 million, but so it's a little bit hard to say. But some of these I'm pretty confident are mid-level exception guys, such as T.J. Warren, who I wouldn't mind it. It's a little bit risky because he hasn't played in a couple of years, basically. But the 2 years before that, he was a really good three-point shooter, been a pretty good defender. I don't know what your thoughts are on him.
I mean, if they got him for that cheap, I wouldn't mind him. He's only 28. He's making 10.8 mil right now. He's been weird because it's like, did he not want to play? Could he have played? I don't know. I don't have a huge opinion on him. He went crazy in the bubble, as uh, any NBA fan knows. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I if they signed him for like 5 mil, 6 mil, I would be like, okay, sure, yeah.
I think that's what he'll go for because again, he was making 10. No, I mean his value has definitely gone down for teams because he hasn't played and he's been hurt, and it's like I don't know, I definitely think he's more of a mid-level exception guy. The Bucks could get him with their I think taxpayer mid-level exception, but next up, this is one might be a little bit iffy on if they can do it, but Gary Harris. I know it's a common name.
Hmm.
I think he'd go for a little bit more than the 6.4 mil, but good score, 38% from three. I like him just because, he can handle the ball, he can score, he can give you what you need offensively. And what are your thoughts on that one?
Not bad. It's just another thing for me. It's like if you go with him, it just feels a little clogged up. You're probably not going to re-sign West, otherwise you have like 5 shooting guards that you have to find minutes for. So,
Mm.
but wouldn't mind him.
This one I really like. Otto Porter Jr. I
Yeah.
think he's doesn't try to do too much. He doesn't try to do too much offensively. He plays his role well and can hit some open threes. He's really good defensively and switchable. 37% from three last year in the regular season, 40% in the playoffs was really good for the Warriors. And yeah, I mean, I really like it. Kind of a forward that good forward depth who can be kind of a 3 and D guy. So love that one personally. I don't know if you like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got good size. I'm smirking because I don't know if you feel this way, but I watch him play and he feels like a guy that's been in the league for like 15 years. That's like 34, 35, but he's really only like 29 or like 28, 29, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean that would be a good addition. He had a few real nice games for the Warriors in the finals there, but still nothing where it's like, oh, he just earned a $10 million contract. So definitely manageable. I think the Warriors probably want to try to bring him back, but don't know how their money works. I know they're going to be big in the luxury tax, but
Some of these too, it's like I mean, it's hard to know. I'm sure if you were a fan of the team and followed all the inside, guys reporting on it, like there might be guys that we're going to name that are likely to come back. Like other teams might be thinking, oh, Bobby Portis, we can
yeah,
get him. Like, and we kind of know like he'll probably be back. I don't know exactly what the rumors are on all these guys, but most of them I think are like up in the air.
yeah.
Uh, Another one I really like, Tyus Jones as a backup point guard. Um, 39% from three last year, 4.4 assists to just 0.6 turnovers. And I think he's can kind of do a little bit of everything, play some decent defense, be a nice ball handler, facilitator, and hit some threes as a backup point guard. If you're not bringing back Javon Carter, um, I like that.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you and would not mind him. Now, who would you rather have, him or Javon?
Yeah, it's pretty close. As I said, there's not many guys I'd rather have over Javon. This is one that's at least competitive. Um,
I don't know much about him
Javon,
defensively.
I don't know a ton either. I think he's decent defensively. I don't think he's like terrible, but I also don't think he's very good. Like Javon beats him defensively. Offensively, Tyus Jones can run the show a little bit better
Yeah.
and handle the ball. I mean, the way Javon shot it last year, they're close shooting, but I I, I don't know. I that one's a toss up for me.
Yeah, guy, like you said, wouldn't if we signed him because Carter was leaving, I definitely wouldn't be mad.
All right, next up, Dennis Schroeder, 13.5 points, 4.6 assists per game last year. He's playing for the Celtics and the Rockets. 34% from three. Eh, I wouldn't I wouldn't dislike it. I wouldn't be ecstatic about it, but it'd be I think to me a solid addition, someone who can handle the ball a bit. And this is again kind of if they don't bring back Javon type of thing. If they bring back Javon, you're kind of assuming they're going to get some type of 3-and-D forward, like something like that with the taxpayer mid-level exception. But if they don't, I think Dennis Schroeder's solid.
I'm a guy that's actually liked Schroeder over the years. I wanted him kind of when Budenholzer came over from Atlanta, um, but I would like to have him. My question mark would be, can you get him to buy into playing for the team, not as much for himself,
Yeah.
but definitely of any of the point guards we've mentioned would bring the most offensive firepower and a guy that you could legit play 30 minutes if you needed to, um, with or without Holiday. You could run Holiday at the two and have both guys out there and be fine because he can score and dish.
Someone could be a minimum guy. Jeremy Lamb was pretty bad last year, 32% from three. He's on the Pacers and the Kings. I'm not a huge fan of it. Um, Again, if they got it with the mid-level exception, I'd be disappointed. But for a min, still, I don't know. I don't think he's very good.
Yeah, I'd have to say I'm out on him too, and I'm also looking at it as like, would I rather have Pat and Grayson playing and maybe Wes, or would I rather have Lamb playing? I'd rather have all three
Yeah,
of those over Lamb.
yeah. Derek Jones Jr., interesting player, kind of athletic, type of wing, but not the greatest fit because he's not a 3-point shooter. Like he's only like a 32, low 30% 3-point shooter. Playing for the Bulls last year. What are your thoughts on him?
I like him. I think he holds up pretty good defensively. Like, I mean, he had to guard Giannis a few times. I know he would like foul him or something, but look at the freaking weight difference. So it's like I think he held up relatively good for the difference there. I I would like him just because he's super athletic, super long, kind of like Champ could probably almost play the four if you really needed him to. So I would not mind him for cheap money.
Say just because of what he is shooter. I don't want two Bo champs.
Yeah, no, and that I'd rather see Beauchamp get the minutes and start evolving as a player than be like, "Oh, let's see if Jones can do it because they
Yeah.
are similar.
Another one that could be the min, I'm not sure. Ricky Rubio. Um, again, if they don't bring back Javon Carter, possible floor general, backup point guard. Not the best shooter,
Mm-mm.
but
Wanna
he
look
played
up
for the Cavs. Played for the Cavs last year, but we know he's a really good passer, ball handler. He's always kind of been that way for his career. So I don't hate it, but also not my favorite.
Yeah, I wanna say he's a pretty good shooter or, not shooter, pretty good defender. I
Yeah,
don't
I was gonna say
you
I think he's a nice defender.
know. So, yeah, I like him. I mean, his passing is great, so he would be a really good guy that you could trust with the ball in his hands. Yeah, not a good three-point shooter, which I kinda knew. Wow, he yeah, 32% on his career, so, but, I mean, if you just brought him in to say, "Hey, you're gonna run 20 minutes of point guard, average 8 and 4 or 5 assists," like, he would fit really good for getting guys shots, but again, it comes back to we need guys to knock the shots down, and he's a guy that I'd rather have Javon's shooting and defense, so
All right, next, Tyler Anderson of the Grizzlies. I
Kyler.
don't really like this one. I don't. He's just an inconsistent shooter. Again, after the Beauchamp pick, I can't have two non-shooters on the roster, man. I can't do it. I'm going no on Kyle Anderson, but feel free to disagree. I don't. He brings it defensively. I think he's
Yeah,
pretty good. He's like an interesting all-around player, but I don't know. I don't love the fit.
he is because he's slow, but people are like, "Oh, he's a pretty, like, good playmaker." He's relatively, I think, bigger than people think, kinda more of almost like a power forward body. Um,
That's also what I was gonna say. Is he does like his pace? He kind of plays with like a nice pace.
yeah.
Doesn't do anything flashy. It's just kind of like he's effective, but I don't love the shot.
Yeah, I don't love it. If you got him for really cheap, I wouldn't be mad because it's just another guy that you can play at the 4, even maybe a small ball 5 or, you play him next to Giannis, but
Someone just called me a Beauchamp hater in the chat, but
I
all
think people are just a Nate Marzion hater.
right. All right, next up. I like this one. Torian Prince.
No, I
And that
thought he just signed a deal.
did he?
I
I
think.
if he did, I will be a little bit upset.
I wanna say he signed 2 years, 16 mil, so 8 a year.
Oh, yeah, 2 years. Never mind. I am behind on the news. Take that away. Forget I said anything. Never mind.
He would've been
Um,
nice though.
yeah. Nick Batum. I'm surprised I didn't see that yesterday. I've been missing some of the news lately, but
Well, Nick Batum, I know you and I also both just started work, so that's part of it. Nick Batum also just signed, uh
yeah. How can they expect us to work while NBA free agency is going on? This is ridiculous.
we
Working
should
at
we
nine to
should be
five.
off.
Working at 9 to 5. I gotta check my phone every 5 minutes to see what trades happened.
I think he's getting a 3-year, 30 million.
Is it 330? I thought it
It
was.
seems like a lot.
I'm reading 2 for 16.
For Batum?
Oh, no. I'm talking about Torian Prince.
Oh, yeah, no, I know Prince got 2 for 16. Yeah, now also Batum believed to return on a 3-year, 30 mil.
When are these guys signing, bro? When
This is
was
what I'm
this?
saying, like, how is this not tampering?
Oh, this was. Wait, hold on.
This was posted 12 hours ago.
No, I don't think he signed. He didn't sign.
Yeah.
He didn't sign. He didn't sign. He's a he. Wait, is it from a verified account? Are you
Nicholas
getting
Batum
Ballsack Sports right now?
no, it's Jake Fisher. I've seen him before. I think he's with Bleacher Report, followed by Kevin O'Connor, 50K followers. Nick
Hmm,
Batum is believed to be returning to the Clippers on a 3-year, $30 million deal.
I didn't see that. But, all right, we'll
Um,
just scratch that then. Not that I don't. I don't. I was gonna say I don't think he's leaving anyways. Like I think he's staying, but he was interesting because his ability to shoot. Next up, let's hope this guy in time. Delon Wright, possible on the min.
mm,
I might take the taxpayer mid-level exception, but solid backup point guard can do a little bit of everything. 37% from three each of the last 3 seasons, playing for several teams, which the fact he's playing for several teams does make you like, but I think he's been decently effective and can kind of do everything.
yeah, he's a bigger point guard. So I mean, if you can, that's another guy where it's like if you can't get Javon back, he would be good defensively. Um, I want to throw one at you if you don't mind. Maybe you're going to bring him up. He is going to be an unrestricted free agent, a guy we've been talking about, Mohamed Bamba.
I like Mo Bamba more than a lot of people, and I want him to be on the Bucks. I think he checks young, can protect the paint, has developed a shot, has a lot of potential, is
Mhm.
mobile. Now, how are they gonna get him? I'm not sure. He's gonna take more than the tax pyramid level exception. And in my opinion, I don't think we can get him. I think we'd have to, and also I don't know if I want him like behind Brook. Like I want him to be the Brook, not replacement. I don't know. I wouldn't hate him to be the replacement. I know that people are gonna cancel me for saying that, but like I think he checks the boxes, bro. I like him. I'm not trying to trade Brook, but if we are, I wouldn't mind Mobamba as an option. I like him. I don't think he fits if you're keeping Brook. Um, and I don't know how much you'd be paying a lot to be a backup, in my opinion. If they could somehow get him for the mid level taxpayer mid level exception, okay, fine, but I don't think it's happening.
I think there's a chance they could on a short-term deal, like maybe a 2-year deal, just because I don't know if you know this, but his first 3 seasons, he only started in 6 games. Um, and his highest minutes per game was 16 minutes per game as a rookie. Until this year when he averaged 26 minutes a game, he was finally unleashed, started in all but 2 of the games he played in, put up 10 and 8, 38% from 3. So, it wasn't until this year that he really finally got his chance. So, and
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say he did play good, so that yes, definitely could elevate how much he's gonna get paid. However, it could be another one of those. Now, Bobby had more years in than Mo, but it could be one of those things where it's like, oh, people thought he was gonna, start to get together, but he didn't show enough, so we're gonna give him a smaller deal, make him prove himself. Maybe like a 2-year, 12 mil. I don't know. I think there's a chance, but
But like I said, I don't think it's super realistic. I do like that, like you said, his first real chance, and he played well, and it's like it seems like he kind of is starting to take that leap, and I wouldn't be surprised if he takes another leap next year.
mhm.
Mo Bamba, that is, and the song's very good, Mo Bamba, and yeah, I like him, and like
This
I
song's
think
there.
people question like his effort and stuff. I'm like, bro, if you're playing for the Bucks compared to the Magic, you're gonna give more effort. Like nobody's playing alongside Giannis and not giving effort. Like it's not happening.
And especially that's why I like him on this would be the type of deal where it's like, okay, this is a prove yourself deal. Prove yourself not to just us, to other teams that want to pay you, that you can play and be a part of a winning team. And the only way he's
Yep.
going to do that is by having that mentality, coming to work every day, getting better, working hard next to Giannis. And if he doesn't, he's not going to be playing, and then he's not going to be up for a payday. So it's all that stuff where it's like little stuff. You're like, oh, is that a reach? No, it's a fact of reality. Those are all things that play into guys playing harder. That's why guys play better in contract years. So
Someone real quick. So it depends if you don't bring back Javon Carter, backup guards in need. If you bring back Javon Carter, don't bring back Wesley Matthews. You need another 3-and-D guy. If you bring back both of them, you could just use another, maybe a small ball four, another forward that can be a 3-and-D guy, some depth. Not a ton of huge needs. Because now they kind of have their length at wing with Beauchamp. Like I don't
yeah,
know, but I think now that you drafted a non-shooter, you kind of need a shooter, another shooter at least, because they need to patch that up a bit and just throw a bunch of shooters out there, and whichever ones are hot, keep playing them. Let's move on real quick with my list. Cody Martin, possible tax pyramid level exception guy, 38% from three last year. He's still pretty young. I think he's like 27. Um, from the Hornets, I
yeah. He
think
was
he
one
can.
of the Hornets, right? Okay.
Yeah, solid 3-and-D.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind it. I think that's a
No,
that's a solid option.
he's a
And
he's a good
then
defender.
yeah, and then last on my list, Victor Oladipo showed some flashes last year with the Miami Heat,
Yeah.
but he's a little bit risky. The injury history, you just don't know exactly what he is, but he showed flashes of being that two-way guy that he used to be. I
Yeah.
just I don't love it. I think it's a little bit too risky, but
And he was now I don't know what he ended up shooting, but he was a pretty inconsistent shooter in the playoffs from what I saw
Mhm.
slash heard. So that's the
He
one
had
thing that makes it
games and then he
risky.
just would go cold. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kinda like the thing where he started to establish himself when he was younger, healthy, as, like, really good offensive players, okay on defense, solid. Now it's like, oh, he played really good on defense coming off these injuries, but his shot wasn't really there.
Yeah.
I if you could tell me, okay, you can either have Oladipo for 6-7 mil or you can have Bamba for 6-7 mil, I would honestly take Mo Bamba just because I think having him, even though I agree, almost like that Brook replacement, if we had him, Brook, Bobby, Giannis, you are set. And then you got Drew, Chris, Beauchamp, Pat, Grayson, at the guard positions forward. So
Freaking rim protection there would be.
yeah, unbelievable.
But, all right, let's move on. These are now I'm getting into. I don't have as many guys in this list, but these guys are more vet men likely, in my opinion. You probably wouldn't have to give them too much, so they're not as good of players, most of them, but probably not to pay them as much. Joe Ingles, pretty good player, but won't be back until mid-season due to a knee injury, and he's kind of now a question mark with that. But I think he knows his role. He plays hard on defense. He shoots it well from three. Once he comes back, I think he'd be an effective player. Like I think he'd be a good guy to have on him, man, personally.
He is a low key really good passer. If you look up some of
Yeah,
his passing highlights, I know you probably know that, but for some people that aren't
that's
familiar,
that's another thing I like is that he can handle the ball a bit, which is
yes,
again another thing we need off the bench is ball handlers. We have shooters, we have defenders. We don't have a ton of guys that can like you give them the ball and they'll make a play. Now they don't just score or shoot all the time, but like make a play for others.
for a guy that's a little older and not very athletic, he's a lot better than he gives off. So I would love him on a vet man.
Next up, Tony Snell. Shout out Snell season. 3-and-D guy, kind of always been that way in his career. He knows Giannis and Chris well. Used to play with them. I think he's a very likable guy in the locker room. Since 2016, he's at 41% from three. Just a really good shooter and played for the Blazers and the Pelicans last year. I think he'd be solid to have on the min. Someone who you can just throw out there. He'll give you, a little bit of what you need. He'll be a guy that the guys like. I mean, you can't really ask for much more of a vet min guy.
Nope, another guy I would love to have on a vet man.
Thaddeus Young, someone who I liked, wanted them to get last year, kind of in the middle of the season when all the DeMarcus Cousins stuff was going down. Not a great shooter right now. Like not, I mean, he's okay, 35% last year, but kind of hasn't. His shooting's kind of starting to fall off a little bit. But I think he's a solid forward depth piece, solid role player. I think he's playable like in the playoffs. He can play at least decent defense. Spurs and the Raptors he was on last year. I think, again, it's not none of these are flashy because they're vet min signings, but like just a guy that can play some meaningful minutes, give you a little bit of what you need. I personally like it.
I do too. I've liked all three guys now that you mentioned, and I like Thad Young. Another guy that can kind of make some good passes. Like you said, he knows how to play his role. He's been in the league for a while, so
Ben McElmore, former top, what was he, a top 8 pick? I don't even know.
yeah, he might have been 8, maybe 6.
And then so he's 36% from three with the Rockets last year. He was pretty good on. I was looking at some advanced stats. Spot up, catch and shoot threes. He was 42%,
Okay.
and that's kind of what we need. Anyone around Giannis again, especially just a veteran role player to be able to do is just plant yourself here and make a three when Giannis passes you the ball. And so he was pretty good at that. I don't know how he is defensively. I'm not really familiar with it, but I mean, if he can hit some threes, again, another option as a veteran guy.
Yeah, not bad. Little undersized. Probably would rather have West back just because
How
Macklemore.
tall? How tall is he?
He's only 6'3", which I was
Oh.
surprised at.
Mm-hmm.
Played 20 minutes a game and averaged 10 points, 1.5 rebounds, 1 assist. So he really doesn't bring you all that much. But like you said, he's a role player that just goes out there, hope he knocks down shots. Not my most one. He's my least favorite of the 4 so far.
Damian Jones from the Kings. He never was a very good shooter, but became a decent one last year. It was on low volume, though. I think he only took like 33s the whole season. Maybe 29. He was like 10 for 29. So 35%. Pretty good defender. I don't trust his shot enough because he had plenty of seasons not being a good shooter. So I'm gonna trust the larger sample, much larger sample, because even last year was a low sample.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a solid player. I like him. Him and I don't know if you say Metu on the Kings.
That too,
Um,
I think it is.
yeah, they both kind of started playing well last year for them when Holmes was out, especially. But I don't know how well he fits with us, so I don't love that. But a guy that, I mean, if they brought him in, like you said, vet him in, like, oh, he's still available. We're gonna throw him a deal. It doesn't hurt to have depth, but
This one I really, really like. This is my last one here. As a vetman, he might need more, but I don't think he will. Daniel House,
good shoot.
46% on spot up catch and shoot threes last season with the Jazz. Plays good defense. I think he's an ideal guy that very, very good at just making shots when he's open, and um, he will play good defense and just play his role well, especially for a min. I would personally love him on the Bucks for a minimum.
Yeah, I like him as well. He is, I mean, you said it good. He hits his open shots. Anytime I watch the Jazz game, even when he was on the Rockets, if you leave him open, he's knocking it down. So if you could get him on a minimum, that'd be great. Brings that defense. If they let Wes walk, he could fill that role.
Someone said
Somebody said what?
somebody said Malik Monk over everyone on his list.
Malik
He
Monk
get,
is not getting
yeah,
that.
he's getting a lot more. He had a pretty good season last year. He's gonna. I'm there's guys that are free agents that I'm not including because I'm expecting them to get, double digits in terms of per year salary. So I yeah,
You have to
I'm
be
just
at
not.
12 to 15, right? Probably.
Yeah, probably. I was gonna say 10 to 15, 12 to 15. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm just not gonna include him. But I mean, if he was cheaper, yeah, sure, I guess I'd agree. But I just don't even my my dream scenarios that have a sliver. There's just three guys, a sliver chance of happening, in my opinion, but actually do have some chance. Number one was Mo Bamba, which we already talked about. Number two, Bruce Brown.
Hmm.
I like that he's become pretty good from deep, but he's very versatile on both ends. Very good defender.
Yeah.
Um, you can kind of plug him into many different roles, and so I would love him, but I don't know. I doubt they can get him with the tax pyramid level exception. And Patty Mills, who I've wanted for my whole life, and I've just kind of accepted we'll probably never have him on the Bucks, and we will never get blessed with a Giannis and Patty Mills combo. So someone just said Otto Porter Jr. We talked about him earlier. We love him.
Yep.
Um, one of our favorite guys, can play 3 and D. Doesn't do too much offensively, but we already talked about him earlier. But yeah, Patty Mills, I love it. I'm not getting my hopes up. I think he's gonna get a little bit more. I don't know though. I just don't trust that. Every time I see his name every offseason, I'm like, I'd love him, but I'm just gonna assume we're not gonna get him.
Do you know what his contract is right
He
now?
just opted out like just a couple hours ago.
Um, okay, or I guess how much he was supposed to get, which was
Six
6.2.
point two. Yeah.
Now you could look at that a couple of ways. Is that he thinks he's going to get more, or he thinks he can get about the same with a better team like the
Yeah.
Bucks?
And so yeah, we can offer 6.4. I just I don't know. I think he can get more. I think with his shooting ability, someone will pay him. But I don't know. He's a guy I've always wanted. So those are kind of my guys. Do you have anyone you want to add?
I mean, we talked before. PJ Washington, I would love him. I like Bamba a lot, like we've
And
said.
he's PJ Wash just for the people. PJ Washington is a trade candidate because he's not a free
Yeah,
agent, but he's someone who he's only owed I think 5 mil next year, so you could get him for a year and have him really cheap before he's due for an extension after that. So
and
um,
you know he's going to be playing his butt off because he's got to pay child support to Brittany Renner. So you know he's gonna be working for that big contract. But
bro, people are still commenting about Malik Monk. He's not gonna be a 6 million a
if
year
you think
guy.
Malik Monk is getting less than 10 mil, then you just I hate to uh, talk down, and I'm not even talking down to you. You just he's not getting less than 10 mil a year,
Is
and I'd be
is
willing to bet
Royce
that.
is Royce O'Neal free agent?
I want to say he is.
Is he? Someone just commented him. I wouldn't mind him. Well, he's okay. No, he's not a free agent. He's a potential trade candidate. It sounds like. Um, I've always liked him as a potential. I mean, he can hit threes. And someone was saying, how do you feel about the Derrick Rose rumors? I wouldn't really want D Rose personally. I don't love his game. No thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to just be like we swindled the deal. Real quick, maybe they weren't as off as I thought, but I think this is more of him wanting to stay with the Lakers because same guy who tweeted about Batum said Lakers want to bring back Monk on a taxpayer mid-level. However, it was also reported that he's open to taking less money to return to the Lakers. So I think it's more the fact of he'll take that if it's going to the Lakers. The Athletic a day ago said could command multi-year deal worth 10 to 12 annually, which is right what we said. But sounds like he might take less, but if he took less, it's going to be to stay with the Lakers. So I don't think the Bucks would have a chance.
Right. That pretty much wraps it up. You don't have anyone else?
Not off the top of my head, just because we named a lot of guys, but Joe Ingles would be nice.
Just real quick, of my favorites, I'd say TJ Warren, Gary Harris, Otto Porter, Tyus Jones, Cody Martin as taxpayer mid-level exception guys. You'd have to get one of those guys, and then 1 to 2 of Ingles, Snell, Thaddeus Young. I love Daniel House as a Vetman guy. Maybe Ben McLemore. Those are kind of the guys, but yeah, that pretty much does it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Just under an hour, and we'll have. As stuff happens, we're gonna have some podcasts reacting to it. I'm sure, like later this week, sometime next week, maybe probably later this weekend, sometime. We will by the time moves are made and some stuff has happened, we'll have some reactions to it. And yeah, that's it. Enjoy some free agency tomorrow. Check your phones. Have your Woj Shams tweet notifications on. And yeah, we will see you guys next time. Peace out.